Hi guys, a quick reminder before I start with this month's wrap up. Tomorrow and Wednesday, the 6th and 7th of October, I am going to be writing 100 poems in 48 hours to raise money for the Book Bus, who are this amazing charity who send mobile libraries to rural communities in Africa as well as other places too. I'm going to be posting the poetry online as I write it. There's a donation page over at Indiegogo. I would love it so much if you guys could donate a penny or two. It really means a lot. They do wonderful things. There are perks up for grabs, such as handwritten poems on postcards and limited edition poetry pamphlets, both of which ship to anywhere in the world. If you can't donate, I would really love it if you could share the link down below. Everything is in the description box. So yeah, I'm doing that. Any support on Twitter would be wonderful too. I'm going to be drinking lots of cup of tea and writing, and let's do it. So yes, all links down below. All donations appreciated. Thank you so much. On with the video. Hi guys, I'm here this evening with my September wrap up. Now, I didn't do a mid-month wrap up this month because we were moving bookshops, so I was moving lots of books. I was on book tour and generally just rather crazy this month. So there was no point in me doing a mid-month wrap up because I didn't have an overload of books to talk about like I normally do. So I think fitting them all in one video this month is manageable. So let me show you what I read. Now the first one I want to talk to you guys about is All This Has Nothing to Do With Me, which was sent to me by review by Picador a while ago. It is translated from French and I included it in my unusual narrative structures video because what it is emails, texts, letters, photos documenting a relationship between a woman and this man that she is obsessed with. Loads of people adore this book, like absolutely adore it. And I've heard high praises from people like Lena over at Just Kiss My Frog, but this, I just couldn't get into it. I don't know why. And I don't think it was because there was not that narrative to lead me through it. I don't need someone holding my hand through a book, but I just couldn't feel emotionally invested in it. I didn't care about any of the people. And normally something like that would be saved by beautiful writing, but it couldn't be saved by that because of the way it's written, because it's like a jigsaw puzzle. So as much as I find the structure interesting, I didn't love it, I'm afraid. The next one I did love and had the privilege of reading, which is Poems for Eva by Michelle Faber. Now this is a limited edition pamphlet that Canongate have put together. I think, how many are there? It's 250, which are signed and numbered and were sent out to certain people. These are not for sale. However, Michelle is writing a full-length poetry collection, which will hopefully be out next year from Canongate, so those will be available to buy. This just has 7 poems, I think, inside, and obviously the full-length collection will have over 50. So I found this wonderful. It's heartbreaking, raw, emotional, gonna tear your heart out sort of poetry. If you missed it last week, I uploaded an interview with Michelle Faber, which I will link down below. His wife Eva passed away last year, and these poems about her death. And in the interview, Michelle said that sometimes great poets can have such distance from an event or be terrified of an event that they don't write about it as if they were there. They try and not sugarcoat it, but try and turn it into something beautiful, trying to turn it into something that they can understand, try and turn it into something that is not in your face horrible watching your wife die. Try and talk about it in metaphor or in various different ways. Metaphor is not a way to escape something, but you know what I mean? To not look at the ugliness of death. And this is what he does. He looks at the ugliness of death. It has the anger or the mindfuck, as he called it in the interview, of death. Let's see if I can read you a little bit. This one I think is particularly, they're all moving. I'm not going to pick favourites, but this one shows the anger. Don't hesitate to ask. So many of the people I've informed that she is dead have said, if there's anything we can do, anything at all, don't hesitate to ask. Well, actually, since you offer, yes. Would you mind driving me headlong through the universe at 10 million miles an hour, scattering stars like trash cans scorching the sky? Put your foot to the floor, crash right through the gate of fate, trespass galaxies straight over black holes and supernovas to the hideout of God. Wait for me while I break down the boardroom door and drag the high and mighty fucker out of his conference with eternity, his summit on the mysteries of life, and get him to explain to me why it was so necessary to torture and humiliate and finally exterminate my wife. But no, these things I do not say, because I know that by anything at all, you mean a cup of tea, or a lift into town if you're going that way anyway. Punches you in the heart. One that didn't punch me in the heart was The Guest Cat by Toshiki Haredi, and this was a Japanese novella about a couple who live alone and a cat comes to visit them. Now, like all this has nothing to do with me, I know a lot of people who adore this. So this couple are living alone, they're written much older than they actually are. I kept forgetting that they were in their late 30s, and this cat comes to visit them. And at first they're reluctant, but then they make space for it in their home and they anticipate it coming, and they lift a window up so that it's got easy access into their house in case it wants to come around when they're not home. Basically, there are beautiful aspects of this, but I just didn't love it overall. So for instance, it's about a couple who kind of live between lives. They don't have their own lives and they don't have their own direction, but they have bits of other people's lives. So they're renting this house that they live in from a woman who lives in the main house. And she's in their life a bit, but not really. And they can't get on the property ladder, and they don't own this cat, but they see it a lot and they feel like it's theirs. And it's just about them living vicariously through other people and other things. And then they realise how strange that is, and that maybe their existence has been something that's not particularly real, that they've been seeing things through this weird angle, like the street that they live in, which is called Lightning Street, where you can't really see around the corner because it's like a thunderbolt. So it has some interesting ideas, but I didn't think it paid off, didn't love it. In fact, I found it quite boring. Sorry. 3 books that I'm not going to say very much about because I have individual reviews of them up. First one is Staten Island by Tom McCarthy, one of the Man Booker shortlisted books. Bloody loved it. It's kind of about social anthropology. It's very philosophical. I will link my spoiler-free review of it down below if you want to go and hear more. I also read Spoiler-Proof Thread by Anne Tyler, which is another Man Booker shortlisted book. I've yet to put up my individual review of it. I enjoyed it. I'm surprised it's on the shortlist. It had some interesting things which I'd like to discuss. Overall, it was okay. I mean, I don't know if it's because I was reading it in the context of the Man Booker Prize and I was expecting much, much more from it. I don't know, but I was not blown away by this. It's not to say it's a bad novel, it's not, and obviously this is just my opinion, and it's on the shortlist, so a lot of people love it, but for me, no. I was not bowled over. At the moment, I am reading A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. I'm finding this very hard work, not because it's technically very difficult to read, but it has very hard-hitting subject matter. So yes, also the print is tiny. It's tiny, and it is 700 pages long. So there's that one. I'm hoping to finish this before the winning announcement is made. I've also made a start on A Little Life. So the only one that I have yet to read is Year of the Runaways. So I don't know if I'll finish all of them by the time the winner is announced, but I'll have read most of all of them, and I'll be making a video with my predictions nearer the time as well. I also have a video coming up with my friend Jonathan Rubin, who works at Foyles, where we discuss literary prizes, because he is on the judging panel of a lot of prizes, and that should be very interesting, hopefully, for you guys to watch, and that'll be up in the next couple of days. My favourite book of this month, apart from Michelle Faber's book, which is obviously very short and a snippet of the future book that will be, which I'm very excited about. My favourite whole thing that I read this month is this, which is Grief is the Thing with Feathers by Max Porter. Max works with Granta, a publisher who I very much respect, and this refuses to be put inside a box, okay? It is poetry, it is novella, it is non-fiction essays on grief, it's non-fiction essay on Ted Hughes's Crow. Basically, this book was made for me, right? I love, this is here, let's get it. So Crow by Ted Hughes, okay? This is poetry collection, just absolutely gruesome, grotesque, wonderful, magical, mythical, hard-hitting, ugly poetry. It's ugly poetry that Ted Hughes wrote about Crow, who is this godlike figure who's bringing everybody down. He's basically shitting on the world, and Crow is like grief. He's a religion gone wrong. He's humanity at its worst. It's this strange poetry collection, but absolutely one of my favourites. Now, I don't think that you have to have read this before you read Max's book. It's kind of The Hours by Michael Cunningham and Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf type situation. You can probably read them in either order. I would probably recommend that you read Crow first, just because I think you'll love this more. I think if you read this, I would be really interested to speak to someone who's read this without reading Crow first, because I think you're going to have a lot of in your face, wow, this is awesome, I have no idea where this has come from, I want to understand it more type feelings, and I'm sure that you'll rush out and read Crow. But yeah, if I was advising you to do it a certain way, I would maybe say read Crow first. However, I think there are a lot of people who have read The Hours by Michael Cunningham because they're scared of Virginia Woolf and have then find it easier to access. So if you are scared of poetry, go for this first, okay? So that's my advice. I haven't really explained what this is about. This is about a dad and his wife dies and he has 2 young boys and he's grieving. He's a Ted Hughes scholar. And then one day Crow turns up at his house. Crow is grief and he helps him and his sons through it. He yells at them. He tells them truths that they don't want to hear. He tells them fables, fairy stories, ugly stories to help them pull themselves out of the dirt and get on with their lives. So Crow is this mythical creature. It's written from the perspective of the dad, the boys, and the crow. They each change over. And you can say that Crow is a thing that their dad is imagining, or you can say that it's a part of their dad and then of the boys, and that changes all the time. Or you can say that Crow is grief. There's ghost in their house. It's absolutely just like nothing I've ever read. So I would go and check it out. Read Ted Hughes's Crow if you haven't already. Pair them together. Makes a beautiful, beautiful, bookish, grieving, horrible party of excellent words. So you should read them both. So those are the books that I read this month. I'll be reading probably, hopefully, a lot more in October. And I will be talking to you about those very, very soon. Let me know in the comments down below what books you guys have been reading, and if you have any recommendations for me, let me know if you'll be checking any of these out too. I'll see you guys very soon. Lots of bookish love. Bye.